Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are unpacking a wild, absolutely fascinating eco-sci-fi story that is actually hiding some massive real-world ecological lessons inside a super thrilling adventure. We're going to follow a young animal lover named Mabel Tanaka, a deeply threatened forest, and a totally mind-bending piece of technology called the hoppers. So let's just jump right in. Imagine this. What if saving a forest meant leaving your human body behind? It's a pretty wild dilemma, right? But that is exactly what our protagonist, Mabel, is facing. See, she has this profound, almost visceral connection to a local forest glade. To her, it's not just a bunch of trees, it's her sanctuary. But the local politician, Mayor Jerry Gannarazzo, has just drawn up plans to literally bulldoze right through this delicate ecosystem to lay down concrete for a brand new highway. Mabel is completely desperate to save the animals in their home, and that desperation pushes her to search for literally any possible solution. And that search leads her to a highly experimental university project run by a scientist named Dr. Sam. He's created something called hoppers. Now, this isn't just a fun little drone you fly around with a joystick. It's a complete neural bridge. It allows a human's consciousness to literally hop into a lifelike robotic animal. We are talking total, unadulterated immersion. Seeing this as her absolute best chance to figure out what's happening in the glade from the inside, Mabel takes a massive leap of faith and she transfers her mind into the body of a robotic beaver. Because, when faced with an ecological crisis, becoming a cyborg rodent is obviously the logical next step. But seriously, just imagine that transition for a second. Suddenly, you're perceiving the entire world through the sharp instincts and the unique senses of a beaver. Mabel totally crosses the boundary that separates modern human society from the deep wild. Completely embedded in the ecosystem, she comes face to face with King George. And no, he's not a guy in a suit, he's the actual formidable leader of the forest's mammals. Through him, she finally gets a ground-level, completely unfiltered view of the true crisis facing the glade. So why exactly did the animals start fleeing before the highway was even built? Well, it all comes down to Mayor Jerry's so-called beautification project, artificial trees. To human eyes, these are just nice, aesthetic, low-maintenance additions to the park. But to the animals, it's literally acoustic torture. These plastic fakes are constantly emitting high-frequency sounds that humans are completely deaf to, and it's actively driving the animals out of their own home. It's this incredibly stark reminder that what we humans often perceive as harmless progress can be absolutely devastating to an ecosystem. Armed with this startling new knowledge, Mabel gets straight to work. Using her new beaver body advantage, she quickly sniffs out the exact locations of these high-frequency devices hidden deep inside the fake trees, and she just rips them apart. Almost immediately, the agonizing ringing stops. The animals hesitantly begin to return to their home, and Mabel goes from being this invading human outsider to a trusted, vital member of their community. But of course, a secret this massive, it never stays buried. The animals eventually uncover the truth. Imagine the sheer sense of betrayal here. They invited Mabel in, they completely trusted her, and now they realize they've been deceived by the exact same species that installed those torturous artificial trees to begin with. The trust evaporates instantly. The animals are rightfully furious, and Mabel has to face the harsh reality that her well-intentioned actions have sparked a volatile, highly dangerous new conflict. And the fallout is incredibly fast. Within just the first hour, the deception is fully uncovered. By hour 24, a unified, furious animal community turns aggressively against the humans. But by the 48-hour mark, a much darker threat emerges. Titus, the leader of the insects, steps up. He doesn't want a peace treaty, he wants pure revenge, and he plans to weaponize the hoppers' technology against humanity itself. As if that wasn't chaotic enough, at hour 72, a massive, uncontrollable wildfire erupts out of nowhere, suddenly threatening to burn both the natural forest and the human city completely to the ground. It's at this moment of absolute peak crisis that Mabel has a profound realization. Revenge will only create more destruction. Answering human ignorance with animal vengeance, which is exactly Titus's plan, is not going to save the forest. It just guarantees that everyone burns. She realizes that fighting the problem with blind anger simply distracts from the actual existential threat bearing down on all of them. So survival now requires an immediate, desperate pivot from conflict to cooperation. It forces an incredibly unlikely, super high-stakes alliance. Mayor Jerry has to finally face the near disaster his reckless policies caused. Dr. Sam brings his tech expertise to the table, and King George has to somehow convince his animals to look past a massive betrayal. But amazingly, it works. Together, they manage to stop Titus's revenge plot, pooling their completely different resources to successfully fight back the wildfire. Having stared down total annihilation together, both sides finally sit down with a completely new perspective. Mayor Jerry, deeply humbled by the intelligence of the animals and the destruction he nearly caused, agrees to a peaceful resolution. The highway plans are completely rerouted, but they go even further than that. The glade is permanently transformed into a protected wildlife preserve, ensuring that neither reckless development nor invasive technology will ever threaten it again. Life eventually moves on. Mabel graduates and actually begins working professionally alongside Dr. Sam. As for the Hoppers program, it's shut down for good. They realize the immense risks and ethical boundaries of secretly infiltrating animal societies simply outweigh the scientific benefits. Some lines just really shouldn't be crossed. But the most incredible takeaway is that even with the tech gone, Mabel and King George maintain a lasting friendship, proving that genuine connection doesn't require a robotic disguise. So while this is obviously a fantastic sci-fi adventure, it's fundamentally a masterclass in ecological awareness. The story forces us to see the deep ripple effects of habitat destruction. It shows us the critical importance of ecosystem balance, where everyone from a mammal king to an insect leader plays a vital role. It teaches us that brilliant technology still requires serious responsibility, and that true conservation demands critical thinking, real teamwork, and a willingness to trade blind anger for cooperation before it's too late. If we distill all of those lessons down, we arrive at one really powerful truth. Understanding another perspective can change the way we see the world, and protecting nature requires empathy, responsibility, science, and cooperation. It's a multidisciplinary effort, right? We need the emotional drive of empathy, the firm boundaries of responsibility, the sharp tools of science, and the absolute humility to work together to actually bridge the gap between human progress and natural preservation. Now, we obviously don't have Hopper's technology in the real world. We can't digitally transfer our consciousness into a beaver or a bird to see what our cities sound and feel like to them. But we do have the capacity for imagination and empathy. So I want to leave you with this question to really think about. If you could step into the paws of an animal, how would it change the way you treat the world? How would your daily habits, the things you buy, or the policies you vote for shift if you actually experience their impact firsthand? It's a pretty powerful thought experiment. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this fascinating story. Keep asking questions, keep looking at things from a new perspective, and I will catch you in the next explainer.